Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Alan Major Show here at Wild Wing Cafe out by the university. We're here until 8 o'clock talking Charlotte 49ers basketball with you and the coach, Alan Major, alongside Landy Ford. I'm Matt Swarad. Our phone number is 704-332-0173. That's 704-332-0173. We'd love to hear from you tonight as the Niners pretty much off this week until Friday night when they travel down south to Miami to take on the Hurricanes of the University of Miami Friday night. It's a two-game road trip, finishing up on Sunday afternoon against Kennesaw State. The Niners off this week because of the final exams that actually began last Friday. Coach, but there was a game kind of snuck in there, which was Saturday afternoon against Central Michigan, and you guys able to get the win against the Chippewas. And it was really a battle that afternoon at Halton Arena, but it was good to get back home, first of all, and to get that win going into exams has to feel pretty good as well.
Yeah, I mean, T-Will actually had a final at 11:30 on Saturday, game day. So, guys been, a little bit all over the place with tests. But, I mean, I knew, that those guys were going to come out guns blazing. And, we had a little bit of a quick turnaround with a 2 o'clock game after, I know I didn't get to bed till late Thursday night. I mean, the Davidson game ended about 11. I don't think the kids got back to campus till about 12:30. And just because you get back to campus, that doesn't mean you fall asleep. Everybody's a little wound up, obviously, after that game. So it was a quick turnaround. But the thing I was most pleased with is that I think I mentioned Saturday, that 23 assists, 9 turnover stat. And, they played probably the most unique defense we played up to this point. I mean, I'm watching film, and at one point there were 5 guys within about 15 feet. They just straight packed it in and tried to make us make some shots, which we were able to do. So to see another different type of defense and find a way to overcome it, that's encouraging for me.
Did you like the way the team did bounce back from that short turnaround? And there's always that lingering hangover effect of the big win and coming back home, and you got the exams starting up, and maybe they're looking ahead to Miami, which you hope they don't, but that's always the possibility with a young team. Was there any kind of worry about that going into the game?
Yeah, I wasn't so much concerned maybe about the Miami part. I think it was just the emotion of the Davidson part. I'll tell you a brief story. I mean, my first year at Ohio State, we were there, and we played Illinois when that team was undefeated. 29-0 was Darren Williams, D. Brown, Roger Powell, Luther Head. I mean, they were an unbelievable team. Well, they came to Columbus last day of the Big Ten season, 29-0. We were fortunate enough to win by 1. The game's on CBS. I mean, just an emotional, unbelievable win. Well, 4 days later in the Big Ten tournament, we're playing Penn State, which at the time wasn't doing very well in the Big Ten. We're down 18 at halftime.
Wow.
So when you have that kind of emotion, and then put yourself in Penn State's shoes. They're thinking, if we can knock off the team that just knocked off Illinois, that's how teams start to validate themselves by how they play against you. And that's the thing I've just been stressing to the guys. I mean, you're going to start getting everybody's best shot. You get Davidson gave us an incredible shot, and we withstood it. Central Michigan got their best shot. We're going to get Miami's best shots Friday night.
Coach, we saw some power rankings where they had we talked about it on our show that we do on Saturdays, and they had ranked ACC, SEC, and you guys have moved up to number 5 inside the A10. When you get into A10 play, if play can continue like it is, you are going to have an extra bullseye on you that you maybe haven't had before, and that'll be something that every game will be a big game.
Yeah, I think if you want to know what A10 games, not just ours, but just about any A10 game is going to be like, take a snapshot of the Davidson game. And to me, that's going to be real similar to A10 play. Night in and night out, home road, doesn't matter who's where. And I told somebody up in Brooklyn at Media Day that I thought the A10 was the 5th best conference in the country this year when you just look at it from top to bottom. So that doesn't surprise me one bit.
I was looking today actually at the teams in the A10 and the standings and looking at our schedule, and it's not an easy schedule. It doesn't matter who you play. There's a couple of games that some teams aren't as good as they have been in the past, but for the most part, you look at this 16-team league, there's 12 games that you just don't want to play.
Right. No, and everybody in the league can say that. That's the amazing thing. So, but we'll as we keep moving forward here, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. The amazing thing is we got from 14th, 16th, 19th, 22nd. So we got 4 games coming up in a 9-day stretch that, we're going to continue to learn about ourselves. And the good thing is, being able to play and have some depth. And so I think having some depth, could be an advantage for us in this 4-game stretch.
Our phone number is 704-332-0173. Coach, you have this little bit of a break. You do have the exams. That comes first. But also gives you a chance to get back in the classrooms, per se, with the basketball team and practice and go over a few things where you've been playing a lot of games recently. Now you have a little bit of a break. What are some things you're trying to work on this week?
Well, I think just getting back in the, a rhythm of defensively, getting our edge back, just continuing to fine-tune some things, getting our pick-and-roll defense better, guarding the ball better, and then just continuing to build our execution. I think the thing I like is the last 3 games, I think we've gone 50, 48, and 49 with field goal percentage, and that's a good thing. So when we move the ball, good things happen because we have so many guys that can make a play, and you got different options going on. So, but we don't, at the same time, we'll be hour and a half, probably max, in terms of being in the gym this week, in terms of being on the practice court because, finals week's a different deal, and, their minds are on it, but they aren't in terms of practice. And, we don't want to have them in there to where, we gas them down too much to where they can't focus on what's important. So Wednesday it'll shake down a little bit in terms of more tests being done, and then Thursday we'll leave for Miami.
Coach, you talked a little bit about the defense that you saw from Central Michigan being something that was a little bit different. We have struggled a little bit with the zone this year. Was it a good time as far as development of the team to see that kind of zone pressure all night long in a game situation? Because you're going to see some more of that as the season wears on.
Yeah, it was. It was. And, I think the guys did, for the most part, a pretty good job of taking what they gave us. And, again, I froze. I was watching the game on my iPad, and I hit pause, and literally, multiple possessions, there's 5 guys. And at some point, there's 3 of their guys like this, across from us like we are right now. And they just tried to pack it in, knew that we had some inside threats and tried to take that away. So we had multiple guys chip in and make some shots and, took advantage of some open opportunities.
What's really been impressive is how you've worked your rotation. You played 10 players against Central Michigan. Every one of the 10 got double-digit minutes on the floor. So you're getting a lot of time on the floor for the young guys, and also the veterans are also getting their minutes as well, keeping a nice rotation going so far.
Yeah, I think it's helped our defense a little bit. When somebody's got to be out there for 35 minutes, that's a stretch because as hard as we'd like to play, it's hard for anybody to sustain that level. So, it's most guys, it's 3-4 minute bursts, 5 minute bursts at a time. Get a sub, get somebody in there so we can keep their legs fresh.
Is there somebody right now that's kind of stood out for you that they're doing something that maybe you didn't think they'd be doing at this stage of their career, some of the young guys?
All the young guys in their own way. I think Willie and Darren are kind of, what's the old Dennis Green thing? They are who we thought they were in terms of energy and, just that bookend, forward, dirty work mentality type guys. Denzel's been really steady. With Vic's injury, he kind of got thrown in out there a little bit sooner than expected. And then Ivan, I think, from Alaska on, has started to kind of carve a little, mentality for himself as far as, stepping in and finding a role. So, it's hard to really put it on one guy to say one guy has just been head and shoulders above everybody else. They've all been pretty solid in their own ways.
He's another one. You talk about Ivan. He's another one that reminds me a little bit of where T. Will was last year. He's out there contributing, but he still hasn't got that confidence to really pull the trigger and take some shots and just let them fall where they may.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that I think is different about T. Will this year, whether it's driving baseline or taking some jump shots. And I guess that will just come with experience. But you can see it at times, but you just don't see enough of it where he's really wanting to go after it.
Right. Yeah, and that's all part of developing. I think you're right because, last year as we got in the league, T got more and more comfortable and Ivan early on, we talked about this before. He felt like, hey, I'm a shooter. And then when he wasn't maybe making shots, he didn't feel like he could contribute the way he wanted to. And so now he's starting to play basketball knowing that he's still a really, terrific shooter. So when you think basketball, there's a broad view of just a million different things you can do on the court.
And he's a kid that can really help defensively because he's not a big, but yet he's not a small guard.
Yeah, he's got good size, and he's learning how to play basketball on defense, for lack of a better phrase, meaning that it's not just about guarding your guy when he catches it, can you be a two-way defender? And a two-way defender can guard his man and then maybe be a good helper when your man doesn't have the ball. What are you doing away from the ball? So he's starting little by little to be, a good stunt and good gap guy and just learn how to help his teammates out there a little bit.
Our phone number 704-332-0173. We're here at Wild Wing Cafe out by the university. Coach, you talking about Denzel Ingram. He had 5 assists in the game, did not turn the ball over playing 30 minutes, but you also touched upon the overall team assist to turnover ratio, 23 assists, only 9 turnovers, especially in the second half. You guys shot 37% in the first half, over 60% in the second half. What was the difference from the first half to the second half?
I think the big thing is we strung together multiple stretches of getting some stops. And when you can get some stops and get out and run, with us, I think with having that depth, you're able to get up the floor faster than the other team over the course of the game because you're more fresh. And when we can get stops and get out and run, that really helps us in terms of getting the 3-on-2s, 2-on-1s, getting some easy baskets. And then the other thing is that I just thought our shot selection improved. I thought in the first half, because of the pace of the game, they almost dribbled the air out of the ball, and we got a little bit anxious to try to go get it right back. And then the second half, we let it come to us a little bit more, even throwing it inside or making some threes. So we're a little bit more patient in the second half as well.
Fast break points, as you mentioned, we outscored them 23-9 on the break. We turned them over 16 times in the 78-66 win over Central Michigan on Saturday. We'll talk with Niners head coach Alan Major. The Alan Major Show continues here from Wild Wing Cafe out by the university in a moment. Again, this is Niner basketball from IMG College. Welcome back to the Alan Major Show here at Wild Wing Cafe. Matt Swarad with Lanny Ford alongside the Niners head coach Alan Major. The phone number is 704-332-0173. Before we go any further, we'll go to our Bojangles game break segment. And Coach, you talked about the zone that Central Michigan played in the second half, and one of the adjustments was making some of the threes. When they packed that zone down, we shot 50% from behind the arc, 7-14 in the second half. And I thought they were all really good looks and some big shots made by DeMario Mayfield and also Denzel Ingram.
Yeah, Denzel knocked in a couple, and then it's good. Vic knocked one in, too, right in front of the bench.
Yeah.
So, those just kind of kept, the pressure off of feeling like, when they pack it in like that at times, what they were trying to do is sandwich the bigs, meaning that, the big that was posting up on the block and the ball would be on the wing, they wouldn't guard our wing, and they would set their defensive wing in the big's lap. So, a big would have somebody behind him, somebody in front of him, and, you're not trying to force it in there and turn it over. So, at some point you got to take what they give you. But it shows us that, we're capable of being a solid, three-point shooting team. Obviously, percentage-wise, may not have shown that up to this point, but that's why you have Christmas break and things like that. I mean, we'll get a chance to put more time in. But to be 45, I think 46% from the field as a team at this point through 9 games, I like that right now.
That's big, too, when other teams are scouting you because this is the most recent game. That's the most recent one they're going to watch, and now they know they just can't take your inside game away because you've now shown that you can hit some shots from the outside as well. And you still scored 42 points in the paint and had a 22-point edge in that department.
Right. No, and what was good is, we had some balance. I mean, when you have a balance of being able to make some jump shots, still score in the paint, have a high assist total, so it was a pretty even though the game may not itself been that pretty in terms of the physicality and it just had a different pace. They were subbing at every chance they got to try to keep our rhythm off. So there's a million things going on in that game, but I thought offensively pretty efficient, for the most part.
Did you make an adjustment at halftime on the defensive end of the floor? Because it looked like we went more into I call it a sag-off man-to-man, which was if ball was away, you got some guys sagging. They're still man up, but they're sagging back, which really put them on the outside. And we had one of the first shot clock violations that we've really had all year, which tells you that the defensive pressure is there. Is that something that you kind of looked at to change up a little bit?
Well, a little bit. I mean, we got, the energy we had in the first half. We got a couple hand checks. They got, they were 7 of 9 from the foul line, and that's probably a few too many points from the free throw line for a team to have at halftime. So it was a combination of, pressure with intelligence. Keep the, you want to pressure the basketball, but you want to keep the guy in front too, because their whole thing is if they can get by you and get your defense, rotating and get you out of sorts, that's when they can get driving kicks. And, part of the point is if a team can't drive, then there is no kick. The only way you get a driving kick is if there's a drive first.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can take away the drive, then the kick is out. Now the driver's got to either stop or he's got to shoot a tough 2-point shot over an outstretched hand. So I thought guys did a pretty good job of making that adjustment. And I think part of it might have just been, a few more guys playing and just the depth part, taking over a little bit too, that took the legs out of a couple of their jump shots. Even though they made a bunch, their best guy was 4 for 17. So, when a guy's got to take more shots than he gets points, then that's a pretty decent defensive night.
The two guys that handle the ball most, Randall and Fowler, combined to turn the ball over 13 times. I know you're pretty happy about how your defense kind of forced the issue there.
Yeah, I mean, they had two guys that they kind of played through in terms of handling the ball. It's almost like, you have two quarterbacks and then everybody else is just kind of waiting for those two quarterbacks to set them up. Well, one guy was a little bit more of a running quarterback like Fowler, and then, Randall was the guy launching it, a little bit. So, but everybody else got shots as a function of those two. And they didn't really have too many other creators. So we just tried to do the best we could to keep those two guys in front and make them take some tough shots.
Phone number 704-332-0173. This is the Alan Major Show. Coach, you mentioned the quick subs that Keno Davis had. And we talked about at the time, it was 26 seconds into the game, and Bigoto and somebody else came out. And
right.
I mean, normally you don't see a sub that early unless it's senior night and somebody who's starting that doesn't play very often. I mean, but
right.
he kept that up the entire game. And you just said, was that to keep our rhythm off?
It's mental. Yeah, it's mental because when you can sub, then we're always turning our head. We're trying to get our matchups going, who's got who. It's a way to sub and set his defense up because if you make a free throw and the ball just gets thrown in bounds, play just kind of keeps on going. So, but whenever there's a sub, then, he gets a sub and then change defenses, different type of press or whatever it is. So it was more of a mental thing, just trying to get the rhythm of the game the way they wanted it. So that's what it was.
All right, Coach. I got our first phone call today. Dave is on line one. Dave, welcome to the Alan Major Show. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much.
How you doing, Dave?
All right, Coach. It's me again.
I like it, man. You're consistent. You back-to-back weeks.
Absolutely. Hey, the first thing I wanted to do was just comment on Chris Braswell. I've watched him, several years, and I tell you, please pass on to him that I just think he's doing an incredibly good job. He,
I will.
Coming in off the bench, he just takes control. He looks comfortable. He looks confident. He's just banging the boards. I just think he's doing a wonderful job for you. So I just wanted you to know that and just to pass it on to him.
I definitely will, Dave. Yeah, it's somebody asked me about that the other day, and he and Mayfield, with some injuries and circumstances we had early in the year, they've been coming off the bench, and the thing that's been great, and I think why we're in the situation we've had at this point to have some success is that, two guys that were key guys last year in terms of starters and scorers, and not one of them, and this is as true can be, not one of them has come in and beat on my door and said, hey, what's up with my position? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times in college basketball, kids are so caught up in themselves. And unfortunately, they're raised that way a little bit more, and that is what it is. But neither one of those guys has come in and out of the 347 Division I schools, maybe I'm the only one at this point, and we're the only ones at this point that haven't had that. I thought those two guys, and I think those two guys are doing a terrific job. And I think when we sub, we get stronger. And I think that first group does a really good job of getting the game going defensively. But, I think we upgrade our scoring when we sub. So that's helped us too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just think he's a changed man from last year, and I'm just so proud to see it. So here's the question for you.
Yes, sir.
At Davidson and also this past Saturday, the refs spent a good bit of time looking at that TV screen. I guess reviewing fouls and so forth.
Yeah.
And especially the Davidson game. But my question is, what's the quality of that screen? It looks like they're staring into an iPhone. I mean, it's just the smallest little.
I went over there, Dave, to be honest, and the dudes were watching cartoons. when I went over there. So no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well,
They were with the.
I mean, what's the quality of the thing? Is it like an old old green and white CRT from 15 years ago?
No, it's legitimate. Every time you have rule changes, then a lot of these rule changes, what they've done is they've made some of these rule changes reviewable, and some rule changes aren't reviewable, but some are. And Willie Clayton, they said it had a flagrant foul the other day with an elbow. Well, the first one was inadvertent. The second one, they went back, looked on film. Willie's trying to post up, his elbow caught Jake Cohen's throat. They gave it to him. So it's some of the stuff, because it's become reviewable, it's slowing the game down a little bit. But in terms of quality of the screen, I mean, the screen is fine. I mean, it's kind of a flat screen TV that they use.
It just looks like one's got his hands, right over his face and can barely see, and then there's another one kind of wandering around. And I just, was wondering. So I'm glad to know that there's good quality viewing there.
Yep.
All right, I appreciate it. Good luck in Miami, and I hope all the players make A's this week. Take care.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, Dave. Happy holidays.
All right, thanks, Dave. And we're up against our next break now, Coach. So we're going to take a break now and come back with our player guest. We'll talk to Perrier Henry and talk about this 9-0 start and how things are going for Perrier now in his sophomore season so far. Our phone number 704-332-0173. A lot more to come here on the Allen Major Show this week from Wild Wing Cafe from IMG College.
Henry getting a screen, goes left, shot clock at 9. Henry driving on Cohen, trying to get free, fall away shot, good! From the left side,
at the bottom of the net.
71-69, he was not going to be denied.
The Allen Major Show back here at Wild Wing Cafe, and that was the clip from Perrier Henry's shot. That was the game-winning shot against Davidson last Wednesday, and then, of course, Perrier went on to nail 2 big free throws to ice it with 10.1 seconds left in that 73-69 win over the Niners' crosstown rival, the Davidson Wildcats. This is the Allen Major Show. Phone number 704-332-0173. Our special guest brought to us by Ortho Carolina is point guard Perrier Henry, sophomore from Charleston, West Virginia. Perrier, how you doing?
I can't complain, not at all.
That was a pretty big shot you just heard yourself make there. Take us back to Wednesday night. What was that like up there at Davidson and getting that big win?
It was a great atmosphere. It says a lot about our team and just the chemistry and the trust and the bond that we have in the locker room. A lot of emotions was flying. It was a dogfight, and for us to come out with it, it says a lot. And we're on to a great start, and we're not finished yet.
I'm sure you've had a lot of great memories in your young athletic career, but is this start to the season some of the most fun you've had playing basketball?
I wouldn't say that it's the best start, playing basketball is in fun-wise. It's hard work. I don't want nobody to think that everything's been just handed to us, because from this team, from the off season on to now, it's just we've been grinding so hard on and off the court. It's amazing to see where this team has come from. So, I mean, yeah, it's a great experience, and we're going to make sure that we keep working hard and keep trying to succeed to where we're trying to get. But we're not taking nothing for granted, and we're just going to keep working.
One of the things I've noticed, Perrier, is the games are so intense, just like the Davidson game. But you guys, regardless of the situation, are able to control your emotions and concentrate on playing the game regardless of what's happening going around.
Yeah, our coaches do a good job on, keeping everybody level-headed. We have some refs in practice that, make some bad calls and stuff, or they don't just don't make a call at all. And, every time we throw a little temper tantrum, we got to run. And don't nobody like running. So, it carries over into the court. We thank our coaches for, keeping us level-headed, and we move on.
You've told us about the work you've done this summer before you went on that trip to the Bahamas with the team for that exhibition tour. Just yourself watching film of last year, watching yourself play and learning from last year's games. What are some of the things you took from that video session this summer?
I took a lot, just being comfortable out there, you know, being that general and that heart and soul that, you know, my teammates look at me as. You know, coach breaks down all the mistakes and all the goods that I do, and it helps me, you know, be better than I am now. You know, I can't never settle to where I'm at. I'm not happy where I'm at right now because I know I can get better, and you know, coach is still watching film with me, so it's not over. And like I said, it's just hard work, and it's going to pay off in the long run.
It appears that some of the other guys on the team, especially some of the younger guys coming in, thinking that Denzel, I think a lot of guys look at your work ethic pattern that you've put up and the way you've done the off-the-floor stuff, and they're starting to find out that that's a real benefit. It doesn't always have to be done on the floor, but there's things that you can learn off the court.
And Coach Major, he talked to me a lot about, you know, leadership on and off the court, and it mainly starts off the court. So, you know, when we've been hanging out, you know, building that bond and relationship off the court, it helps to, you know, at the heat of the moment when you're yelling at them, they know that it's not being disrespectful. It's just coming from the heart, and, you know, we care about one another, and we just try to make each other better. And people feed off of any kind of energy, whether it's negative or positive. And, man, this team just does a great job on just being one unit.
You know, you've been so serious lately. We got to make you laugh a little bit and tell us about, you know, you coming off the floor against Davidson with about 5 minutes ago, and Coach says you kind of gassed. You're playing with a broken toe. He just wants to rest you for a minute. And the only thing you can say to him is, Coach, stop babying me. I'm all right.
Yeah, I don't like being baby. My mother ain't do it, so I can't have my coach doing it, you know. But, you know, it's just a different mindset that I have, you know, just coming from where I came from nothing, and, you know, understanding that when you're in between these lines, it's not no fun and games no more. It's all about business. And, you know, I just want my team to realize that I'm going to run through a wall for them. And I'm not laughing when I'm saying that, because it's the truth. And I pray that they do the same for me, and I know that they will. So I just try to keep everybody focused just like I am, because we can't take nobody lightly. Nothing's going to be handed to us. We got to work for everything that we got. And the work that I seen that my teammates put through in the off season, I just wanted to be shown to the fans and stuff that we're really trying to give y'all what y'all want, but in the same token, we're trying to get to where we want on our own.
You know, when you went to Alaska and won the most valuable player of the Great Alaska Shootout, a lot of folks are talking about some of the great players that have played in that tournament, and they can't remember somebody winning that award where he wasn't a scorer. And it shows things you're talking about now. Is the heart you bring out there, the effort you bring out there. You won it by running a team as a point guard and playing outstanding defense. That has to make you feel pretty proud.
I mean, I'm proud of it, but I get that award up for a team award. I'd rather us win the national championship than me win that most valuable thing. It did. Honestly, I couldn't tell you where that trophy's at. Like that, it really doesn't mean nothing to me. My teammates did that for me. Like I said, I didn't score, so what did I do other than give them the ball and put them in position to score? So I got to thank my teammates for finishing the plays and just encouraging me, and my coaches for helping me learn who I am on the court.
Well, because of your play, really, though, we won a tournament with everybody, so that's fantastic. And you're having a great season, and this is just your second season with the 49ers. Give us a quick, before we let you go, give us a quick little, Perrier scouting report on the University of Miami, a team we played last year. They're really athletic. We're going to their place, and that should be a nice test on the road for us.
I'm angry. They came in our house and beat us by more than 10, I think. And even though that was a year ago, it still doesn't just move on. Ain't no remorse for them. I respect their team. They're a great team. You know, they run an NBA offense, a lot of pick and rolls, so it's going to take a lot of team defense to stop one. But in the same token, we're going in there disrespectful. We're trying to take their heart from them and take it on home and keep on finishing where we're at now.
Perrier, thanks for stopping by here tonight, and good luck with the rest of your exams this week, and we'll see you on Thursday heading out there to Miami.
Thank you.
Perrier Henry has been our guest, Niner point guard from Charleston, West Virginia. Niners off to a 9-0 start this season. Our phone number 704-332-0173. More of the Alan Major Show coming up in a moment from IMG College. Major Show here at Wild Wing Cafe. Phone number 704-332-0173. That's 704-332-0173. Got about 20 minutes left of the show before we wrap it up this week. Niners off until Friday night when they travel down to take on the University of Miami. And then on Sunday afternoon, they'll be at Kennesaw State before heading back home next week. Coach, got the game at Miami coming up this Friday, and a team that we did play last season at our place, and they're really athletic and got some really talented players. And they've had some pretty good wins as of late, one of them being against a top 20 team in Michigan State.
Right, that was an ACC Big Ten challenge that was going on. So they had Michigan State in Miami and played well. The game ended up, I think, being by 8 points, but it was a little bit, a little bit more towards double figures, especially in the second half. So, they're very talented, especially their front five. But the thing I've been, enjoying, with this crew that we have is every step we've taken forward. You get to learn about us and what we got, and these guys have taken on challenge after challenge. I mean, even going back to the first team you play in the Bahamas, and you don't know who you're going to play. Going all the way back to that. But I'm proud of these guys of the way they've responded, and they're starting to carry themselves in games that that special teams are supposed to carry themselves. It means that when you hit some adversity, you hit a tough spot. You don't lose your mind. You don't. There's no point fingers. You don't shake heads. You don't separate in the huddle. And you look out there at that foul line, and I've told them this. I love looking out there and seeing arms around each other when there's a huddle. That means that there's nothing being misunderstood. For this particular moment, this five guys is tight as a drum on the court. So that's been great to see. So. We got a lot of growth to do, and this weekend is going to give us another chance to grow even more.
It's going to be interesting. It's our second true road game. Davidson was sold out. It was loud. They don't draw quite as well at Miami, so it might not be that kind of atmosphere. But you certainly know the talent that you'll be playing is equally as impressive as what you saw last week, and maybe a little bit more athletic, certainly bigger across the front. But yet, as you mentioned, just another challenge, one more in front of you, and a chance to go up and do some good things.
Yeah, I think the guys enjoy it. I mean, when you have a chance to measure yourself, and Miami was a preseason top 25 team. I think they're back in it, if I'm not mistaken. But once that ball goes up, the nice part about it is it's 5-on-5, and that their environment, I agree with you. It's going to be different than Davidson in terms of they'll probably have a few more people because I think it is televised. But at the same time, we have to bring our own energy into the gym, and that's what you do on the road. You go in and you got to bring your own juice.
I do a weekend show with Dino Gaudio, and we talk about basketball, and he's been very impressed with the job that you've done and the way the teams play now. And he says a lot of it, in his opinion, goes back to that Bahamas trip that you're talking about, that really, in his opinion, created a lot of bonding and close-knit and really helped this team get off to the start that they are.
I think it has. I think it helped the young guys probably as much as anybody because you get those 10 days of practice before you go. And, in addition to just being together, it helped our guys, those young guys in particular. It sounds repetitive, but it helped them practice how we practice. And, all the little terminology and the words that we use, phrases we use, it gave them some time to get used to that. And then as a team, it gave guys some more time to get used to each other.
No, that makes complete sense. Brad Lambert talks about that when he started football. He had to teach the kids how to practice because he had nobody there to lead them and show them how to do it.
Every single one of them. Yeah, he got no seniors to relay the message. So, he's got to wait a couple of years until he gets that. But so, in some ways, we having guys like P, even though he's only a sophomore, his growth, and he's starting to understand, how to communicate. And we had a funny conversation back in the spring about communication, and but it's paying off just watching him grow. And I know he's not a guy that likes a lot of compliments, but I got to say it. He's learning how to put more and more of himself into, other guys in terms of, what he has to say. And, we kind of use the old biblical story about, God talking to Moses about going to Egypt and, freeing the Israelites and the whole 9 yards. And the whole point was, Moses gave 15 excuses why he couldn't go do it. And God's point was, hey, I'll tell you what to say. So what I've been trying to do with P is tell him what to say at times, but him say it to the other guys in his own way. And his way is the best way. It's better than my way could ever be. So it's been great watching him just grow as a communicator.
And we did get him to smile just a little bit when he was up here just a moment ago. Right. It's hard. It's hard.
No.
But he's funny. We're on the bus and everything. He's very funny.
Oh, he's hilarious on the bus. I was going to bring that up, but I let him go this time. He's still the leader there, too. It's just a little different side.
Yeah, he's focused on some wings right now. So,
We'll let him eat. We'll take a break. Come back with more of the Allen Major Show here at Wild Wing Cafe. This is Niner basketball from IMG College. Welcome back to the Allen Major Show here at Wild Wing Cafe out by the university. Our phone number is 704-332-0173. We still have about 15 minutes or so before the show is over tonight. Again, 704-332-0173. Coach, as we get set for Miami, I want to ask you a question that has nothing to do about Miami right now, but I was reading a story today, and I didn't realize this until I was reading Andy Katz's Monday recap of the last week. When you were on the staff at Ohio State and went to the Final Four, Coach Mata's staff was, of course, you and Coach Miller now at Arizona, Coach Gross, who's now at Illinois, all doing really nice jobs as head coaches now. And how much contact do you have with those guys? And is there any kind of, little contest, you guys, not contest, but, kind of keeping up with each other, what you all doing and how you guys are doing well right now?
Yeah, just here and there. It's so hard because, I probably catch Thad a little bit more than Sean and John just because, once you start dealing with your own team, you almost get tunnel vision. And even when I catch that, it's more through text. It's maybe, 3 or 4 phone calls a season max. You actually get more out of going up in the off season and going to see him and, sitting in his backyard, hanging out with him as opposed to that. So, but no, there's no little inside deal on who gets the most wins or any of that stuff. I'm really, really happy for those guys, and I think the best thing that Thad does as a head coach, which I don't know if I'm doing it or not, I'm trying. The best thing I can do, and my assistants, they don't get nearly enough credit. Orlando, Ryan, and Desmond. The single best thing I can do with them is try to stay out of their way. Because these guys are all going to be head coaches someday. And what I try to do is put them in the framework where they see, they expect, they know what I want, and they know how I want it taught, and then I let them do it. And those guys are tremendous. They treat our players like their sons because they all have sons, and so they know the importance of what that's about. And that's why I hired them. I said, first and foremost, I don't care if you know how to teach a guy a layup. You better know how to, you better be a good husband and a good dad, or you're not going to be on the staff. And these guys are incredible. So I hope people know that, when a team has success, put the head coach last because, obviously it's not going to happen without the players. But my assistant coaches and support staff and everybody, managers, I'm really blessed to have this crew.
Yeah, they really have done a great job for you. Another phone call, Coach. Rodney's standing by. Rodney, welcome to the Allen Major Show.
Hey, guys. How's it going tonight?
How you doing, Rodney?
I'm doing well, Coach. Just want to say congratulations on the wins last week, the win against Central Michigan on Saturday, and then the win, of course, against Davidson.
Thank you.
Happy to say that I was one of those loud and crazy Niner fans at Belco Arena was cheering on the 49ers.
We appreciate you coming over, man. I'm glad you didn't get kicked out.
Well, luckily we didn't this year, but, next time maybe we will. My quick question for you is, last year when Miami came into our house, they out-muscled us. They pushed us around on both the offensive and defensive side. Do you think this team is more equipped to handle a team of their size. If I'm not mistaken, they got 8 guys that are over 6'6". You know, there's some big old boys too.
Right.
And how difficult is it to prepare on a 2-day turnaround, both games on the road for a team like Miami, and then Kennesaw State, that's a totally different type of team.
Yeah, it's a tournament type of mindset that you try to take, and you know, when you have a 2-game and 3-day deal, sometimes in practice you can overlap teach, and what I mean by that is you can use one particular concept, let's say transition defense, and you can make a point that's going to apply to both teams. So, you know, not having watched a lot of Kennesaw State, they have pretty good guard play. You know, that's one of their big things. So, you know, when you're talking about transition defense, you can make a point about, you know, stopping the basketball that's going to apply both to stopping Shane Larkin from Miami and for one of Kennesaw State's guys, Delbert Love or whoever it might be. So, but, you know, that's why your principles defensively are so important, because if your principles are solid, then you just have to tweak them based on who you play as opposed to reteaching an entirely different defense or offense, you know, from one game to the next.
Gotcha.
But getting back to your, I'm sorry, from the size standpoint, I think we do have more size, we do have more depth. And the thing Miami did last year that really stood out is they shot the ball great. They made a bunch of shots in here last year, so it's a good lesson for us to know this time around that we got to get to those guys a little quicker, make them put it on the floor.
Rodney, thanks so much for the phone call. We appreciate it.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right,
Good
Rodney.
luck.
Hey, Coach, before we take our next break, you talk about hanging your hat on defense. Just to throw a number out at you, there's 345 Division I teams in college basketball right now, and these came out yesterday. Our field goal percentage defense out of 345 is number 16 in the country. So talking about hanging your hat in defense, 36.1% opposing field goal percentage. That's getting it done right now.
We'll take it. Yeah, that's, you know, I think that's the core of our identity. And, you know, you guys have kind of heard me talk about P. He's kind of the Ed Reed of our defense in terms of igniting what we'd like to do. And, you know, when you have that, it allows you to have a chance, you know, every single night, because there's going to be some nights that the rim might have a lid on it. But, you know, defensively, that's something that you can control, because that's effort and that's attitude, and that's a form of 5 guys playing together. So we want to keep that going for sure.
And he's 17th in the country in steals per game, so that's certainly impressive as well for Perrier Henry. We'll take our final break here on the Allen Major Show. A little bit more of the show left to go. We're back in a moment from IMG College. Welcome back to the final segment of the Allen Major Show here at Wild Wing Cafe. Our phone number is 704-332-0173 here until 8 o'clock. The Niners' next game is on Friday. We travel Thursday night and play at the University of Miami on Friday night, and then it's over to Kennesaw State. As the last caller, Rodney, pointed out, Coach, quick turnaround going to Kennesaw State to play on Sunday afternoon. But it is kind of like that tournament atmosphere.
Right.
The only difference, you got a plane ride in between.
Yeah, I mean, here it is, you know, what, December 10th, and then by December 16th, you know, we will have seen just about every time zone adjustment that you could see up to this point. I mean, when you go from a 9:30 Alaska tip-off, you know, which is 1:30 in the morning back here, to, you know, 7:30 was another game, which is 11:30 here, then 8:30, which is 12:30, you know, then 2 o'clock last Saturday, then 9 o'clock Georgia Southern, you know. So, but if you want to be relevant when it counts in the month of March, and you know, they tell you when you're playing, so, you know, at that point it's a nice problem to have. So it's not a bad thing.
We talked about Miami and their win against Michigan State, but how about their last game where they went to Amherst and beat Massachusetts on the road and did it rather handily? Durant Scott has been back now for 3 games. Didn't have him for the first 3 games, and one of their losses was the Florida Gulf Coast, but you kind of throw that out the window. They weren't, you know, all together like they are right now. And,
right.
And what kind of a difference does Scott make to that team?
He just a scoring, you know, he complements Larkin. I mean, those are their 2 top scorers. And then their third guy is, you know, Big Reggie in the paint. So, but without Scott out there, it puts a little extra pressure on Larkin. And then, you know, they've got the kid McKinney Jones that can shoot it. So, but without Scott, it puts a little bit more on Larkin to have to do probably more than he's used to, and that may have been the case, without looking at that game yet in particular that they lost. That's one of the first ones I'll look at. But those two kind of complement each other. Durant hasn't shot it great, but he's a driver. He can get to the paint. He's a good one-on-one guy. And then Larkin is 13 of 25 from three. So you got a point guard that kind of plays like a two guard in terms of his shooting ability, and then you got your two guard that plays like your point guard in terms of his penetration. So even though their positions offset each other, and then their games kind of offset each other too, but you put them together, and they're tough to deal with.
Coach, tell us about Kenny Kaji. He had a good game against us. He's 6'11", and he can step outside. He's got tremendous range.
Yeah, he does. And looking at their stats, he hasn't shot it great up to this point. And we want to, obviously through scouting and playing hard, we want to make sure that continues, because his ability to stretch. You call guys that can kind of play that pick and pop. They call them stretch fours, or they take pressure off everybody else when they can step out and do that. And he made 2 or 3 last year that were big shots as that game wore on.
Give us a couple quick keys. I know you have more work to do looking at them, but give right now, a few days out, a couple of keys to a win.
Defensively, obviously, just taking away easy baskets, whether it's through transition in the half court, doing a great job with personnel, not letting shooters shoot and drivers drive, to be honest. And then just making sure we keep the big fella off his easy spots. But then offensively, we're going to see some zone. So, just whatever they throw at us, making sure that we get the shots we want and stay on this rhythm of keeping that field goal percentage up in the high 40s.
Coach, thanks so much this week. Really appreciate the time, and we'll see you on Thursday for the flight, and we'll get ready for Friday night.
All right, fellas. Thank you.
Allen Majors Show is a production of IMG College here on ESPN 730. Join us every Monday at 7 p.m. Next airtime will be Friday night at 6:30. Is that right, Matt? 7 o'clock
so,
tip?
yep.
7 o'clock tip. Keep it right here. ESPN 730.